Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the Vault. Trust Christian own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live or listening to replay. Really excited about you joining us live or listening to replay from wherever you are in the world. So many people join us live from different places around the world. Just really appreciate you all for the support live and as well in the replay. Always appreciate that. Been doing this for years and just always want to thank everybody for that's been a consistent listener and going forward from there. So really thankful and excited about that. We had an awesome weekend. If you all were on the webinar this past weekend and would love to give any support or future reference about the webinar this past weekend, feel free to type into the chat and give your type of response that whether it's positive or I doubt we have any negative responses to the webinar. When it comes to somebody else generating their wealth, I think they always have some type of educational mindset, so they pull something out of it. Everyone that was on there this past weekend, the 22nd, 23rd, with Cornell, the trader. So excited about that. If you want to get in contact with the Vault, Christian at trustchristian.com. Always appreciate you all for reaching out for consultations in general or moving forward with Trustee Training. A lot of people have asked about Trustee Training, so we're definitely going to be knocking out Trustee Training in August. Knocking out the Trustee Training in August, and we look forward to you all working with us. So it's a 12-week course, and we'll be going over all the details in the initial consultation when you contact the Vault. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com, and you all can move forward from there. So really just excited about the episode today. This is the 136th episode, What Controls Public versus Private Education. Just really going to do our best to give you a good understanding of some of the various differences, why you may be running into some of the roadblocks that you're running into as a trustee, or just the thought process towards the private and things of that nature. So definitely going to talk about that episode today. Really just want to talk about some of the things that are in the news right now. So thank you, Daniel, for tuning in live, or what is that, Luna. I don't know how to say the rest of that, so we're just gonna leave it alone. 768. Always appreciate you. Um, but so BlackRock Science and Technology Trust, a closed-end fund for the tech space, is trading at a discount. This entity, which is BlackRock Science and Trust Technology, their ticker looks like BST, and it looks like they're holding these inside of their portfolio. Inside of their portfolio is Amazon, AMZN, MA, I really don't know who that is, and MSFT, that could be Microsoft. So I encourage you all to look at that entity, kind of see just how, when everybody's talking about, I want to go into a trust fund with my buddies and we want to learn how to invest through a group. Literally, that's a good example of looking at how this entity, BlackRock Science and Technology Trust, holds. It says literally, you all can see what's in his portfolio just from the article, which is Amazon and, like I say, believed to be Microsoft. There are only a relative handful of closed-end funds that are used to bet on science and technology space. BST is one such fund from a major name that many investors are likely to trust. The fund is fairly well diversified across the space, although it's fairly heavily weighted in software and SaaS. SaaS. The fund is also used to use covered call strategy as a way to generate extra income. Surprisingly, funding does not have a reasonable distribution yield and trades at a slight discount. So you all can look into this. Fund may not be something that you invest in, but you all can see the holding. It does hold weighted 5% Microsoft's corporation, 3% Amazon. It holds 3% Alphabet, 10-cent Holdings, 3% Twilio, 3% MasterCard, 3% Alibaba, 3% Visa Incorporated, 2% Salesforce, 2% Apple, 2%. So you all can see that this entity is holding those funds. It basically is a trust that has its own basically mutual fund, and you can see the stocks that it's holding. It's holding, what is this, 10 stocks, uh, 10 different stocks. So when you go look at the S&P or the what is that, the not the S&P, just, or even the Nasdaq or Dow Jones, you can see that those are entities that are holding a certain number of companies that are holding up that platform. So thanks, Trey Stone, for tuning in live. You all can look at that article. So once again, that was Black Rock Science and Technology. Um, Definitely looked into some really interesting articles this past week where it was talking about a living trust. A lot of people come to the vault and they don't know the types of trust, so they always say, well, it's a revocable, irrevocable, specialized or living trust. How should they perceive a will versus a trust? So you all can see that a living trust, and there's benefits to those things, but when we say that there's benefits, that's because of the public education. So we can go into that as well. Um, but just talking about overall, you getting in and knowing the different things. Oh, we really wanted. Oh, here we go. So when you all contact the vault, we always say go do your research on the public side. According to LegalZoom.com, this website that helps create legal documents without the counsel of lawyers, the average cost of a form for an attorney to draft a living trust can range from $1,000 to $1,500 for individuals and $1,200 to $2,500 for couples. This is a living trust. Of course, these are only estimates, as varies from state to state. So you gotta either know somebody on the private side that doesn't just deal with the state entities, because that's public, the lawyer you choose, and the complexity of the trust. It says another option is to draft your own living trust, which may cost around $100 on how-to books and software that helps you do this. Now, the reason why I addressed this actual article, like I say, there's many ways to do this thing, but at the end of the day, when somebody's telling you this is how it goes in a public, where oh, this is how much it's going to cost on average, there's no need to contact the vault and then ask on the back side, on the private side, well, why is this more than what they just said on the public side is going to cost for something that's public? So just want to address that way for the long time listeners or people that contact the vault and they say, what can I expect? If you even go compare it to the public side still has, the cost that they shouldn't even be compared to the private. And don't contact the vault expecting it to be compared to the public, because the public and private are not compared to each other. They're two different things. Then this goes right into another article that talks about what type of trust to pick. What you got to first know, what is a trust, and then you got to know the advantages of it. Then you got to know if you're doing revocable or irrevocable. And then you go into, we got marital trust. They have bypass trust. You see, they go to the charitable trust. Oh, which one do we need? We need the generation skipping trust. Oh, do we need the life insurance trust? Oh, do we need the special needs trust? Do we need the spendthrift trust? Do we need a testamentary trust? I mean, that's how long the list gets, and it gets even further. So as you all can see, the vault provides that level of cutting through what's the route for our particular family, our particular situation, before we really make those decisions. So really big deal. You all can kind of research some of these articles and things of that nature. Pull up the next article now. Fidelity says, who needs a trust? Trust can help you control who will receive distributions of your wealth and on what terms. A trust can help preserve your legacy after you die. A revocable trust can help protect your family's privacy by avoiding probate. And this article talks about, it says that death and taxes are inevitable. It says, but your estate can avoid it in a proper position. They have Fidelity. I think this is a good article with Fidelity. And talking about Fidelity's personal trust company, they talk about how they offer their services to clients and things of that nature. So you can see on the public side how they do have services that are going to be traditionally from the bank, and they're going to set you up and they're going to move forward as being an institutional trustee. So that's what the position was talking about with Fidelity. So there's actually a what is this, a hotel family or a distribution family, and there's a good story about them being tied up uh, the Anheuser-Busch franchise. This what is this? What is the name of this? They have This is a really good story about the with the Tigani brothers, Tigani brothers, and just talking about the BST Trust and how they're trustees over Anheuser-Busch, how there was some family mix-up recently for them, and uh, they just had an issue going over it, but you can really see hands reaching over top of hands, some scrounging, but at the same time, you can see what does it look like to be inside of it, and things of that nature, and some of the issues you may run into with family members and things of that nature. So really excited about that. Uh, oh wow, we did a search this past week about the 50 states blind trust chart. So if you want to look into the blind trust states and see, okay, what are some of the provisions? Why are they allowing these entities in different states? You all can look into that. Really good article. Probably deeper knowledge for trustees or senior trustees to look into it. So it was called it's called the 50 state chart, blind trust chart. You all can look into that. Government. Oh, this was a great article and this is for a foreign country as well. So, government is introducing a protection regime will likely cover 40% of funds and bank deposits. Treasury warns that the cost could fail on bank customers and shareholders and taxpayers. So, this country, who's this? The Federal Reserve Act proposal. So they were talking about increasing the insurance in New Zealand for funds for depositors, whereas in the United States, depositors are protected for a certain. They get cut off at a certain number, $250,000. They're now in New Zealand looking to do a percentage of the individual bank depositors' money and things of that nature, more of a percentage, 40%, where they're looking to make sure that they have a good coverage on it. So you all can just look into it to see what's going on around the world in banking. When you all asking what's going on in banking with the trust and things of that nature, protection, around the world. Central banks are utilizing blockchain to stabilize global financial system. We've seen Venezuela already do that recently with their country, and you're going to see a lot of other countries. Right now, you're starting to see more private organizations such as American corporations stay in that space. When you even see Facebook recently say they're going to launch their new coin called the Libra. You're going to just keep seeing more and more of these private companies looking to create their own ecosphere with finance and creating their own ecosphere with internal payment system, point of sale transactions are going to be done particularly through a private hedged market. Hedged market meaning you're on some type of online platform where the market is hedged. So that would be a big deal. So well, this is an interesting article. 6 things a private equity firm would do after they buy your business. Most people don't know that Warren Buffett is considered private equity. The first thing to know that a private equity firm will do, which will keep the founder, and after you, they will fire everybody else. So I'll read that again. The first thing they do in a private equity takeover is they will keep you the founder after the sale. Okay. The second thing is the second thing to know is that you will eventually be fired or you will quit. They're going to fire everybody else in the company. That's what Warren Buffett does. He fires the entire board. Another aspect to know when a private equity firm takes over is they will take out debt on the business. EBITDA. How many people know what that is? They're going to be able to utilize debt to take out money. to go out and keep acquiring more companies. So, just wanted to talk about these things. A lot of people don't talk about these things in the public when we talk about banking, business, partially because they're not doing them. But when you're in spaces where those things are happening, you all can see that that's very important. Um, EBITDA, you all can see that. Um, it's just different things in the private sector. I think we really want you all to see. Just going over some private news, some news that traditionally won't be out there in the public. When you all are looking to recruit good lawyers, a lot of you all ask that question: how do I find a good lawyer? Still going to do that episode. How do you find a good lawyer? Top ranked schools for law students in 2019 have been University of Virginia, Duke University, Chicago University, Northwestern University, Cornell University, Stanford University, University of Pennsylvania, University of Ann Arbor, Michigan, Harvard University, Yale University, Columbia University, University of Texas, Vanderbilt, UC Berkeley. Um, and so you can see some of the top 10, top 15 schools for law. So when you all are looking to recruit some of your people out of it or send your children to it, family members, you all can see that. Uh, Here's a good one. MetLife plans to disrupt the $2.7 trillion life insurance industry with using Ethereum blockchain. So all you all that wanted to say, oh, we're thinking about getting into the insurance space, we're thinking about getting into the blockchain space, we don't know how to do it. Well, you can follow the pattern that's already being done. If Ethereum is being purchased by a particular company or backing their company by it, all it is what's going on. Additionally, there's the article that we're reading from about Ethereum and MetLife. You all can do your research on it. Additionally, he told that there were a whole variety of private sector companies that are adjacent to life insurance, but who are somehow either related to health or in some other ways dealing with low risk security to the customer base, who would potentially use DLT and contracts like this to provide peace of mind to his customers in case someone were to happen in a very rare event. Now, just to let you all know, oh man, we were going to say, oh, we definitely have a trustee that has a medical company, and right now they are utilizing blockchain for coding and protecting privacy in the private through blockchain technology in their environment. So it's no surprise that you know that's the case. That is the case. That is the case. There's a distinction between public and private and the investment and what's going on. And so what controls the public is group consensus. What controls the public is the private. The private comes from private families that are working together. The public is people that live in apartments, people that don't have family houses, family estates, people that don't work together in groups. Traditionally, business teams. They don't have business profiles. Business profile means that the business has a business address separate from your personal address. By that being the case, you're able to do business in a manner in which you're able to build business credit, business profiles. Private, you already know how to be properly structured, whether that's in trust, own nothing, control everything. You know that a private education comes from investing. Investing has to deal with private education. And the public education is free. People want a free education in the public. So when you say, well, what's controlling the public education? The public education is being controlled by endowments, whether it's in public colleges or in the actual public school system, which was created through the Rockefeller Foundation, which is the General Education Board and Friends, and then going to the Board of Education in 1954. It's controlled from the private. And so now that you're aware of some of the differences, some of there's differences. We don't want to always say that they're positive or negative. They're just differences. And what controls them is capital. capital, meaning that in the private you understand that it always is business, it's never personal. So when what controls the public education is a lack of financial education. That's like asking you, why don't they teach finance in school? Why don't they teach true financial literacy in public school? And that's separate for a reason. Just like the legal education or the law education is completely separate from the public school. Why? Because it's not private. Private is where control is and creativity is. Public is someone that wants to almost rule over someone else. Someone else trying to tell someone else how to live their life. Traditionally, when you look at the law system in the United States and you say, well, what was the case of the common law? How does the common law pertain to even current status? And we could say, because common law is still public, even though private, international contract, we still talk public, and we say, how did it work in the public with common usage and customs? So the public is off common usage and customs. And when you see situations happen like 1933 where the stock market crashed and they put the FDIC insurance in place where they were insuring people's money, you all can see that there was an organization called the SEC that was created that said, if you don't make a certain amount of money, you're not allowed to be aware of certain pieces of financial information, certain pieces of financial instruments. You're not allowed to know those things because you don't make a certain amount of money. So that's the difference between a public education versus a private education. A public education is not going to share with you how to make more money and reduce your liability, quote unquote, with taxes. No one's going to tell you that in the public. The common consensus in the public is the more money you make, the more money you pay in taxes. But then you all see that all of these Fortune 500 companies are doing business in a specific way. And you can see it going on. That's the difference between a public and a private education. A lot of times, a lot of people don't understand. They say, well, how do I get the private education? What controls that? You got to get it through a private mentor or a private community. That's what we talk about at the Vault. So we developed a private mentorship community program. It's a continuing education program. It's a 12-week program. But we do work with families on a longer term basis. But overall, when people talk about the education is something that you enroll, you learn the basics, because this is based off the basics. Lifestyle is based off the basics, the fundamental laws. The private laws have never changed, the public ones do. Private laws they're ancient laws, they're common laws, common uses and customs that have been happening for thousands of years, hundreds of years, based off of precedent, past cases. Once again, the education is passed along through mentors or a private community. So there is no let me searching it on the internet, not just on through a public domain. It's not even saying, oh, let me go talk to a public lawyer because I know that I'm going to get a private education from a public lawyer. It doesn't work that way. We encouraged some trustees this past week to go Google what a private attorney is going to cost you. Go Google it. And we already know what the case is. So we always want to talk to you about what really is controlling your holding you back or you moving forward. And really, it's the public education versus the private education. A lot of people are going to invest some faster than others. Some people are going to study more than others. The private education is you truly going to the law library. It's not to be dependent on Trust Christian and the Vault or anybody, any guru over the internet, anybody goofball over the internet or guru over the internet. Either one, it doesn't matter. It's you knowing what you can read with your own eyes, that you're going to talk to your lawyers about if anything ever comes up. You're going to say, I saw this right here and this is the law. There's no way that I didn't see it, so tell me how it works or how it applies and how it's relevant to the current situation that you're dealing with. But to keep it simple, everything has a system. And this is the difference, is some people don't want to realize that they have a public school system education. And once they figure it out, they get very frustrated with the fact that they haven't learned a lot of the information that they need to learn. And in all actuality, there's no need to get upset. It's just a focus now. It's a focus. What are you focused on? Are you focused on public activities or are you focused on private activities? Those private activities put you in a position of own nothing, control everything, whereas the public ones, they keep you in that environment. Anyone that's talking like that is keeping you in that environment. Anyone that's talking ownership is keeping you in that environment. And so the vault provides a private education. It's to let you know. We talked to a trustee earlier today. They're a new trustee, and I said, did you pay for that through the business account or your personal account? Here we go. Oh man, I paid for that through the personal, but as soon as I walked out, I knew I should have paid with the business account. Why didn't you? It's business. It's not personal. That's the difference between a public and a private education. A public education makes mistakes. A private education says, no, I'm not going to let that ever happen. Everything is business. It's not personal. Everything goes to the business account. It's business. It's not personal. We don't need to keep repeating that. But people that have a public education, that they don't know that applies in every area of their life. They don't know that the company can provide uniforms. Here we go. If you have an entity, LLC, S corp, or C corp, it hires people. Correct? Okay, cool. Go read Publication 15B per the IRS. Publication 15, letter B. Publication 15B lets you know fringe benefits. The employer's guide to fringe benefits. Everybody at a CEO level, everybody that wants to call themselves a boss, public school education wants to call themselves the boss, the CEO. Why don't they have fringe benefits from a private education? Company cell phone, company vehicle, company uniform, per diem for food. So do you need to talk to people that have this ability? Yes. When you come to the vault, do you learn about an operating agreement so you can go to a lawyer, get an operating agreement with the fringe benefits? Oh, wow, we got to go talk to an attorney now. Now we have a need for an attorney on the public side. They can create a good operating agreement for that state. So when we were talking about entities being created on the state level, at least you have someone that's local and engrossed on the state level laws. So when people come to the vote and say, well, do you know an attorney in this place or that place? Says, yeah, but are you there? You should be able to touch that person. You should be able to talk to that person. You're the senior trustee. Public education versus private education. Public says own everything. Private says be a steward. Be a trustee. Be a fiduciary. Step up to the plate. Learn your fiduciary capacity. Everyone's walking around in the fiduciary capacity. What controls a public versus a private education is that a public education doesn't teach you that you are a fiduciary managing money your entire life. Always ask people, and just in general in the presentation, when was the first time you touched money? That's when you became a fiduciary. Whether you knew about that skill or not, it's a skill to get money. It's a skill. You have to learn the tools. Why? Everybody doesn't have the same tools. Just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you make a lot of money. Athletes sometimes make more money than doctors. You can get a degree in a skill degree in being a doctor. And then you get a certain reward for that. It's the same thing for being a basketball or football player. It's a skill. The closer you get to the money, the more money you're going to make. The more you deal with the actual instrument itself, because people don't understand what money is. If money is, people try to say, oh, I don't like those people that say there's no such thing as money. If you're on the vault and you're listening right now and you're one of those people that say there is no such thing as money, you can exit stage left and you don't have to listen anymore because you don't know what you're talking about. I would never want children or people's children to believe that an instrument, it's called the financial instrument, is not real. That's just like saying the junk bonds that people buy, the mortgages that people purchase, which is a financial instrument, the securities, the certificate of deposits, all these bonds, that, what do they call them, the stocks, all of those things, the currency pairs that people purchase is not real. They're just as real as you getting clean water. Clean water costs money with a financial instrument. The ones that don't believe in money, they can get off of the stream. You don't deserve to be on the stream. And everybody on the stream, they deserve to know the truth. It's a skill to acquire capital. whether they're all over the place or they're right there within your net. It's a skill. And those skills have not been taught to people traditionally in the public school. How to go out and capital fundraise. Now you see capital fundraising moved into the crowdfunding environment. The crowdfunding is considered to be public, but crowdfunding is a private concept. It's a private education. Crowdfunding privately. That's why they have pre-IPO, which is before they go public. A company goes public, initial public offering. They have a pre-IPO. People don't even talk about pre-IPOs. All they want to talk about right now is Lyft's IPO, Uber's IPO. They want to talk about it in the Valley, the companies that are doing IPO. There's pre-IPOs. Private equity is in pre-IPOs. They're having the private parties, allowing people to buy 50,000 shares, 100,000 shares. This is where you get into private placement accounts, private placement memorandums. When you have certain amounts of capital, where you can purchase into companies privately before they go public, pre-IPO. That's the difference. See, in the private, there's a language. It might be just called, we'll give it its own, this what it is. It's called legalese. You know, we sat in front of trustees today and we said, do you know what a financial advisor is? A financial advisor is a salesman. They're speaking sales language. They're speaking financial terms. If you don't know finance, how are you going to have a conversation with this person to hire them to do a job? Remember, you're interviewing them. You're interviewing the financial advisor. How are they interviewing you? You cutting them the check. This is what a private education provides. You're cutting them a check. So why would you give them 35% of 6% annually? What is 6%? It's not like people even go to most financial advisors with $1 million. People that have $1 million traditionally don't even deal with financial advisors. You're dealing with a wealth side of the bank that has a wealth advisor, not just a financial advisor. Somebody that's making $35,000 to $85,000 a year on a salary. Financial advisor is a salesman, just like a broker. They're salesmen. They're middlemen. They barely know what's going on with the deal, but just enough to sell the sizzle. They're salesmen. And if you don't know financial information, financial terminology, that's why the Law Dictionary helps. That's why Barron's Financial Dictionary, Barrons, Barron's Financial Dictionary, that's a private education. Listening to, reading financial education so you can have a financial conversation for the person that you're hiring for your finance to manage and grow it. It's not to say that they can't grow it, but you have to be able to have a conversation with them. Not go to them for all the answers. Some people want to go to a financial advisor for all the answers. Not all financial advisors are created equal, just like not all doctors or all lawyers or all accountants or anyone. They're not all created equal. So how do you find out the right one? You have to have the questions to interview them, to ask them the right questions. But you have to know the language that they're speaking. They speak in financial language that wasn't taught in school. They're talking about terms like derivatives, CDOs, the terms that I've used so far today in this podcast. If you don't even know what a trust is, that's a financial term. If you don't know what a contract is, that's a financial term. That's why they call it a financial instrument. That sounded so vague. And so many people still don't know how anything can be turned, what an option is. They think an option is what me and you have. As to the option to live or die. No, an option is a financial instrument. That's called a private education. You understand that there's words that someone is using in a financial sense that you are not aware of. And until you know that, it's going to be rather challenging to talk to a financial advisor. For sure. Coming to the vault, you definitely get that straight. What's public and private? Oh, I can distinguish that now. Why? Because I've gone through private trustee training. I understand what's public and private a lot clearer. I understand the rules, the regulations. I understand the lack of education that's provided on the public side. I wanted to do some statistics on America's literacy rate. But it says that less than 30% of the population has over a 6th grade education. Less than 30% in the United States has less than a sixth grade reading comprehension level, less than 30%. They said another 30% has uh, has above a fourth grade education in reading. You all can Google this. Google literacy rates for the United States. I just didn't even bother bringing that content forward. It's almost embarrassing. The population of the United States, even when we were talking about, they were ranked 125th on the list around the world for how many people in their population are literate, that can read and comprehend. It's not just reading, it's comprehending. So many people don't know how to comprehend. So that's been specifically taken out of the educational format. It's comprehension. A lot of older people that listen to the vault, they'll be very familiar with hooked on phonics. So many people in the population don't have the tools. And what's controlling the education is the tools. And that's reading and comprehending. To understand that it's just not just a difference. It's just a difference, ladies and gentlemen. Public education versus private education. We went through a training program for 2 days with the mentors. It was over a period of time, but everything was jam packed in 2 days. Uh, Over a period of time, still, once again, private education says, you're going to invest in alternative forms of education. Private education says that, it's not going to be all on the internet. Private education, you know, um, private education is going to be very alternative at this point in the States. Not to say that the public education has failed the society, but the dropout rates, uh, the lack of financial education, these are some of the things that are holding back the system in the United States to grow when it comes to business. They're not pushing entrepreneurship. You got to understand why they're not going to push entrepreneurship. It's just not going to happen. Uh, so by that being the case, there's more focus on people learning what business is, uh, and learning it from a private perspective, because a public perspective is somebody coming to the vault and saying, hey, we started out at LLC, but it's still considered a disregarded entity. It's still considered a sole proprietor, operating in the worst position tax wise, and as well can get sued out of assets. So to be able to be protected, to be able to have a superior knowledge of, hey, you're CEO now, you hire the attorneys, you hire the accountants, to be able to have a contact and cursory language content base to be able to talk to them is very, very essential. To be able to go into public lending institutions, to go into private lending institutions, to be aware of what the private lending institutions are. You're missing out on capital that Silicon Valley is living off right now. Silicon Valley is living off of private equity right now. They're living off private VC and venture capital. They're living off private insurance money. They're living off of that money out there right now. That's what's infusing money into the market. You don't see the government sitting out here investing into tech right now. The government is giving subsidies for tech through STEM. That was a great play, but they're not investing in tech in that way. And we can say that they are, but private equity, large private families are with tons of capital, are specifically in the states, are investing in technology. But that capital is available if you have a tech company. It's not just for Silicon Valley. That's if you have a tech company. United States can be considered a tech valley as it stands. Tech's coming out of South Florida, tech's coming out of Midwest and Chicago. Texas tech is coming out of Texas, tech is coming out of New York, and still some northern parts of the country. Tech is being developed across the world, the states. It has to be. It can't just be Silicon Valley when it comes to the development of the tech. And so the private education is funding those tech projects right now to make life a lot more easier, a lot more efficient. So that's where the capital is going in the states right now. Not just and tech is hot overall. It's still been hot. It's never going to not be hot for a long time, just because it's in people's hands. It's in their everyday lives now. It's not just a telephone to call your friends across the town. I can't get around unless I have my GPS. Don't I can't get around unless I have Waze or Google or Siri. You can't operate without now, this technology and things of that nature. Supposedly people can't operate without the technology, and so the technology keep on expanding. It's so crazy, so many people, they're just, you guys are going to get, ladies and gentlemen, we're living through a wave, and the public school education people are going to get wiped out. And I'm going to share with you how you get wiped out. Your public school education doesn't allow you to take advantage of automation. We went into a Whole Foods the other day. Whole Foods got rid of 4 cash register people with 6 automated devices. They just got rid of 4 jobs. The companies that you love, the Amazon stock. Amazon owns Whole Foods now. Bezos, Amazon, Whole Foods. They just eliminated 4 jobs for 6 automated machines. They've done this at McDonald's. They've done this at most major companies. But people want to stay here and say, I'm going to go to college and get a degree in psychology. I'm going to go to school and get a degree in communications. I'm going to go to school and get a degree in public administration. I'm going to go to school and get any degree other than something that has to deal with the fact that someone's job just got lost last week when we saw that. Literally, we left the area for 30 days, came back to the area. Now they got 6 cash registers in there, over 4 people. And that's going to keep happening in front of your face. That's not just at Whole Foods. That's happening at major companies. Automation. And we're living through the wave. And you're going to see that continuously happen. How are you going to benefit from that wave? By creating a tech company. A lot of people, through the Trustee Training program, we share more of a formal aspect on how to make sure that the company is being even prepared for funding by having your situation correctly, in the correct position to be funded. How does that happen? That happens through, we have the corp is considered a separate, distinct legal entity. Throughout Trustee Training, one of the things we noticed throughout the entire past session is how so many people still don't understand that a corporation is a person, and there's such thing as corporate personhood, and a corporation or entity is considered a separate, distinct legal entity. People say, well, who owns the trust? Is it revocable or irrevocable? Well, who owns the corporation? Do you know the structure of a corporation and how it looks? Do shareholders, member managers? Do you know that? And that's what the vault provides. So we always appreciate you all for tuning in live or listening to replay. King Khan, AUID, Kenneth, appreciate you all. Trey Stone, Chaz, appreciate you. If you have any questions, feel free to type into the chat. I haven't actually heard about that, Chaz, but I do appreciate that. I definitely have heard of carrot bars, obviously. A lot of people talk about that gold, and even right now we saw gold go up to all-time highs. No, not all time. Excuse me. No, not all times. They're on the rise right now. Gold's on the rise, and you keep hearing about this thing creeping about a recession. Do you even know formally what a recession is? How can you speak on what a recession is if you don't know the technical aspect of a recession, of how literally there just has to be 6 months of non-positive growth in the GDP market, and they consider it a recession? What is it? 2 consecutive quarters? And they're going to label it as a recession, and then your mind's going to think, oh, dag, the economy is bad. That's what you're going to think in your mind, because they say recession. When all that was they just didn't outdo their numbers from year to date, and they didn't do it 6 months in a row or 9 months in a row. Oh, wow. So what that's telling most people is they always try to paint a picture. We're always in a bear market if that's the case. That's not the case. So just because it's 6 months, the growth has slowed down, they're calling it a recession because growth has slowed down? They're not saying growth has stopped. They said slowed down. Well, yes, when you are transitioning industries from manual labor to now automated labor, there's going to be a slowdown in the industry. There's called consolidation. Companies are going to go out of business. That's why you see Macy's going out of business. That's why you see a lot of big box chain stores going out of business. But guess what? We're sitting in an environment with investors. They're excited about the market going bad. I mean, so bad it's not even funny. They're looking forward. They are sitting there like vultures right now, ladies and gentlemen, while all of you all are cringing, while all of you all are covering yourself up with a blankie when the water is getting ready to wipe out you and your family's savings because you might lose your job from automation, or the 401ks might not do good. We don't even talk about 401ks on this show. What's the point? There's so many millennials that listen to this podcast. What is the purpose of them listening and hearing somebody talk about 401ks, something they don't even have, something they'll never benefit from? A 401k. What's the point of benefiting from a market regulated policy? It's market regulated, publicly regulated. So you already see what regulations on it, public versus private. They know they're not benefiting from that. Just like they know they're not benefiting from Social Security. Younger people. That's the difference in education. So there's a market consolidation going on. There's going to be a transition, and it's happening right now. And the investors that we sit around in the room, they're what are they like? They're just really excited about the downturn in the real estate market. Real estate market's kind of gone back through a bubble again, but in the private equity environment, they're excited. They're looking forward to getting more money from banks to buy out more distressed properties in the states, to sell to these foreigners to come over the United States on vacation right now, to come over and invest in the United States. So they're giving the Americans a lot of opportunity to grab up the properties, American first, and then sell and lease to foreigners. So you all can see that. You'll really see that in the marketplace right now from what we've seen in private equity and the real estate market. It's just a big deal, ladies and gentlemen, just seeing the transition that's going on right now with even the stock market. We've seen the buyers be in control in the stock market. I mean, even after 2008, the stock market is still higher than it was in 2008 right now. To the levels that it was at then. They said the market crashed in. They said it was the Great Recession in. They called it the Great Recession, but for some odd reason they're calling for another recession again, and the market's even higher than it was then. So we see great opportunity. The sellers are going to be in control of this market. What is it? Amazon's at an all-time high as far as the stock price. The stock market is controlled by the big companies. Google's at an all-time high. If you look at their stock, a lot of those companies do buybacks, corporate buybacks. So they end up buying back their stock. But even Apple, all-time highs. So all of the institutional, the older investors, we always talk about the baby boomers. The baby boomers are retiring. They want to take their money out the stock market. That means the sellers are going to be in control. They're selling off whether they're retail sellers or institutional sellers. They're selling off their position. And if you know who's in control of the market, it was the banks. Well, who's in control of the banks? Older people that have quality bank positions because they've had quality bank positions for a long time, whether that's institutional once again or retail. They put money inside of banks. They put money in the bank to invest for them, and now they're going to be taking that money out of the bank because they're ready for retirement. So you can see a major transition in the retirement community as far as the businesses that are available to grow in those industries. Private education right now tells us that assisted living homes are one of the biggest, fastest booming businesses in the States. We have a bunch of trustees that come to us that have assisted living homes, whether that's for disabled or whether that's for elderly people. The assisted living home space is so booming right now. When we talk about earning the money, if the money is a skill, obtaining the money to own something that can help out others' lives is still a skill. To start a business, to be able to create a business that can help out other people, whether it's assisted living home, whether it's in real estate, whatever it is, that's a skill. Just like a basketball, just like a doctor. So investing in yourself to learn that skill that's necessary, whether that's to put people together, to put together the project itself, is not just developing and writing a business plan. So many people think it's just about writing a business plan. I got to write out a business plan for what I'm looking to do. A business plan does not get you business funding. And no one knows that because no one wants to tell you how to get money. It's through an executive summary. How come no one on the internet says it's actually an executive summary? No one says that. Everyone says it's through a business plan. That's how I know they ain't got no money. I know you ain't got no money through a bank or any type of traditional means, because even private equity is now looking at a business plan. A business plan is a lie. Everyone wants to say, well, in a perfect world, this is what we're going to do. Sure. Until we find out that you're an employee and you're not even using the business bank account to actually purchase business products. You're still using personal funds because you don't know about write-offs for the company. The business plan, no. But we came up with a great business plan. That's the difference between the public and private education. The private education is, hey, we're setting environments where people are, they force their children to learn private information. They force them to. We had a senior partner. They went through the training program. They sent their 13-year-old, people even younger children. They forced them to go through the program. 20-something and a 13-year-old. Forced them to go through the Trustee Training program. Forced them to go through the program after the parent went through the program. Pay for their way, made them go through the program. Why? Because they understand the importance of private education. It was amazing to see the investment in the family, and then on the back of that, to know that we're in environments where people, their children were set in the room. Yes, at 12 and 13 years old. Very, very young. They were forced to. They weren't given that option. Yeah, they might have got ice cream after the workshop, but they were sitting in the workshop listening. Because families work together and the private. So it was a force. We just want to thank you all for tuning in live or listening to replay this far. Always appreciate you all. MV, Jason. We just wanted to let you all know that, the vault has been a great support for a while, and we just appreciate everyone that has ever contacted us and really just made it a point to get the consultations. But we've seen a major drop off, and I could just tell you all, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't the vault's fault. We understand, you're gonna call times hard, you're gonna say, oh, times are hard, but at the end of the day, even if you come to the vault and you're looking for trust consulting, hey, why don't you just still at least start up a corporation? If you're not in Illinois, starting an LLC or a corp is going to cost you less than $600 to at least get the business going and start focusing on business. Get the business set up in your state, and get that company with some cash flow and get a business going. Get a business credit profile for the business on the public side. That's less than 6 months worth of work. People say, oh, I need a job. I have a job. But what are you doing for the private side as far as starting a private business? Oh, well, right now I don't have the trust situation in place or the foundation situation in place like Zuckerberg. But what do? Start an entity and get rolling. See if the business is actually going to turn a profit. What are you doing to turn a profit with the company? Oh, no, hold on. I got to get my business plan together. Yeah, okay. The business plan over the actual entity itself. So, if you guys want to consult and find out even how to get that corp going up in that state, feel free to contact the vault for a consultation for your state. What you all will find out is actually, if you go to your Secretary of State, you'll see the directions how to actually get the corporation filed on the what is that, the state level. You'll see that they actually instruct you. They tell you, fill out this line, fill out this line, fill out this line. They have all of it on the actual thing. So, just excited. It's mid-year. We had a great run for the first 2 quarters, and just really excited. We did Trustee Training for the first time for 12 weeks. We're going to do another 12-week course, just because of demand. And the service that we love to provide is there too. It's just by demand. It's not a necessity. We work with private families, families across the board, athletes. And things of that nature. I'll comment with this one and wrap it up. So many people say, oh, we've never seen a vault out there. Someone contacted the vault recently and said, I never seen a public profile of the vault. They're a private company. How come you don't know about Cargill Corporation? They're wealthier than the vault, and they're private because sometimes when you step into a private space, a lot of families, a lot of lives have been impacted, and this isn't the environment and the space for praise. This is the environment and the space for legacy. This is the space where people talk about it and they whisper your name privately and say that family, our family is helped out because of these people, and don't you ever forget that. These are the people that got us into a position where we were able to pass along something to our grandchildren and our great grandchildren so they can go from one generation to the next holding wealth, not spending the wealth, not squandering the wealth, holding it, growing it, protecting it, preserving it, and passing it along tax free again, and keep doing it. So we can look like the Rothschilds, so we can look like the Rockefellers, so we can look like the rest of them, so our children can start out with millions of dollars from birth. How does your life change when the child starts his life out with millions of dollars from birth? The education that they're able to have, or the environment that they're able to be in, is based off of just sheer capital alone. So we appreciate you all. A lot of people ask about the success stories. When you come into the vault, you can hear some success stories, but the success stories are great. We still get success stories calling back all the time. Thank you for changing our families. Thank you all the time. From the webinar, trading through the trust account, we get that all the time. And people still question the vault. I don't know if we should invest. Never really heard it. If you don't trust the vault and trust Christian, own nothing, control everything, listen to more episodes. Appreciate you all for tuning in live or listening to replay. Peace and blessings. Look forward to hearing from you. Christian at trustchristian.com. Peace.